Here I am testing and using the Canon EOS R6 for a collaboration project with Hook Clothing and Wonderbath. My goal is to test out the camera in use for making a short video for their new hand sanitizer, face mask and also room spray. It's a simple 1-minute video which should not stress the camera out. Now let's address about the overheating stuff and what you can and cannot do with this camera. You can record 1080p videos on the R6 without overheating issues. That's at 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second and also 120 frames per second. When the camera heats up when you record 4K and when we reach the recording limit, we can still record 1080p perpetually. Now the overheat limits on the R6 are built upon the usage of the camera while in standby or in internal recording. Which means if you are a hybrid shooter like I am, I can be shooting stills a lot with the camera and it will build up the heat enough to not able to shoot 4K when I want to. It took a couple of hours to reach that, but still, it happens. Which means I've got to plan my after work episodes accordingly. I'll have to record 4K video first before shooting still photograph to maximize the 4K recording availability before it overheats. But at 1080p, that's perpetual recording with no overheating issues. I've tried running my own 4K 30 frames per second test and got close to the usage of a camera of what Canon has been reporting. Firstly, at 40K 30 frames per second, we have a 30 minutes gap to the internal recording. Also, at 30 minutes, note that there's no overheating warning sign appeared until when I resumed recording, which came up at about 1 minute mark. And essentially reaches its limit close to 4 minutes. Now in this project, I set the camera to shoot at 4K 30 frames per second using Canon's C-Log profile. Handheld, and here's my disclaimer. I identify my camera works as photographer first and then making videos for YouTube, which makes me a hybrid shooter. I am still learning from operating the camera for videos, so please don't be too harsh on my technique. At 4K, it has a slight crop of 1.07 times, which I did not really notice. The dual pixel autofocus too translates to videos very well. Using the camera with its autofocus keeps the subject in track, eye detection, locked on, and stay sticky. And in-body stabilization is even more helpful here, especially neither my ninja walk nor my steady hands are super steady.
Okay, cut.
In my opinion, this is where you feel the upgrade is of the R6 when compared to the EOS R. Of course, they have a good sensor, the Digit 10, you've got the dual card slot, you've got the 120 frames per second, and yeah, there's a lot to it, but when I'm using the camera, these are the few things that I feel a big upgrade from the EOS R. In the 1-minute video that I produced, I took about roughly 1.5 hours shooting the whole entire process. That includes breaks in between, shooting at 4K, 30 frames per second with no overheating issues. In fact, I don't remember seeing the overheating icon that came out on the screen until very much later when I came back to my studio to record the last part.
Done. I got that shot.
Here's what I think. This camera would be excellent if you are comfortable with the 1080p workflow for videos, which includes 120 frames per second and 4K sometimes. Editing on 4K on my 15-inch 2019 MacBook Pro base model requires me to generate proxy files to have a smooth editing process or even playback. As for me, I'm a little bit torn in the fact that the camera doesn't do a 4K 24 30 frames per second perpetual, which makes me think that the EOS R5 is a better camera for a hybrid shooter like myself. Now, I know for YouTube channel, I'm uploading 1080p content, but I would love to upgrade to 4K soon. Even at 1080p, shooting at 4K allows me to recompose the shot from a bigger resolution file. Stay on to watch the final delivery of the video I've recorded for the collaboration with Hook Clothing and Wonderbath. I've downsampled to 1080p for this video, but I'll upload a separate 4K video on my channel for you to check out. I've also done a review on the EOS R6 for still photography, so if you haven't checked that out, click on the info button right here. Well, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Afterwalk Gear Review. Now, if you get some information out of this video, do click on the thumbs up button, and if you're new to the channel, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.